Alright, September 26, 2020. I did a roller test video yesterday, the day before, where I came through this buckwheat. I rolled it down with a roller just to see what kind of mat we form, see what kind of kill we get. No chopper on this roller, it's just a flat roller. Pull it behind the mower, 3-foot wide roller, roll it down, just to see what kind of mat we get with the concept of going toward no-till. I was talking about possibly comparing that against mowing, but I see that the smart weed, especially here, is still a pretty heavy weed pressure, and that stuff is just difficult to deal with. So I think rather than risk lots of weed pressure from that next year, I'm going to come through here with a mower and mow this short and clean, and I'm going to seed it with a seeder and till it and drill it in. Several reasons for that, and I want to talk about those briefly. One, I just on that roller video from the other day, I'll throw a link up in here for you. My friend Brad from Grow the Farm Up YouTube channel is out in Nebraska. He's a commercial organic seed breeder and grower, a regenerative agriculture style. Very smart man, really knows his farming. So we were talking back and forth in the comments underneath that video. And it got me thinking about building soil organic matter, and it got me thinking about how we apply that. And so it made me think to share a video with him from John Kemp from Advancing Eco Agriculture. It's a video on how to build soil organic matter. And the difference between mineralization, which is bacterial primarily, and fungal activity, which builds humic matter in the soil. And so what we're really trying to do in regenerative agriculture is build humic matter, because humic matter is sort of like a long-term bank account in your soil. It stays a long time, it doesn't come out easily, and it provides nutrients in an available form, but not soluble, so those nutrients kind of stay locked up in that. So there's two basic different types of soil organic matter digestion you can have. You can have fast digestion by bacteria, and that typically releases mineralization, which makes nutrition directly available to plants, but it's a very short time span that happens. On the other side of that, you can have fungal activity, and that is where you release, that is where you break down organic matter and you kind of sequester it in the soil. Now, fungi, when they break organic matter down, keep digesting and redigesting and redigesting that organic matter until they reach a point where they can't digest it anymore. And that point is typically between 38 and 42% fat in the form of lipophilic acid. And once they reach that, it basically just stays in the soil and it doesn't come out easily. But that fat provides fat for growing plants, and that's a huge part of this regenerative agriculture concept. So having basically explained that, oh, by the way, I'll throw a link for that here too, because you definitely need to see that, because Mr. Kemp, John Kemp, goes into that in much greater detail and explains it much more thoroughly. Anyway, I went back and re-watched that video, and that put back in my mind, what am I really trying to accomplish here? Well, what I'm really trying to accomplish is build soil organic matter. To build this soil to a point where I don't need to be adding nutrition to it all the time, where the soil is so healthy and the plants growing on it are so healthy that there's not much that needs to be added or managed soil-wise. In order to achieve that, I need to keep sequestering as much organic matter as I can in the soil. I want to do that long term, and I want to do it rapidly. So that brought me back to thinking that most of that difference between bacterial and fungal digestion is based on the organic matter that's available, the organic material, and the state that it's in. So lush green organic material, like we see here on the buckwheat, and like actually was here right before I rolled this down. You can see this is still quite green. That tends to be mineralization, and that's driven primarily by the carbon to nitrogen ratio. Now, once this dies back and all the green comes out of this and it becomes dry, dead stubble, like corn stalk stubble, which we'll just go take a look at quick. Okay, so once it breaks down and loses all that nitrogen, now what you have is a much higher carbon to nitrogen ratio, much more carbon, much less nitrogen. And instead of feeding bacterial communities, now you feed fungal communities. And if you can add a few of the right components to this, a little bit of humic matter and some sugar, you can accelerate that process in a way that doesn't accelerate it into bacterial mineralization, but rather keeps it in fungal mineralization. And in doing so, now you're sequestering more carbon in the soil. So with that in mind, and realizing that that buckwheat up there is still green, what I'm going to do is mow that under, till it in, and at the same time drill in my rye and my Austrian winter pea seed as my cover crop, and use the mineralization and bacterial process from the buckwheat to accelerate establishment of those cover crops. And then those cover crops will provide photosynthesis, soil protection, microbial communities, all these other excellent functional pieces that help build soil organic matter. They'll take advantage of that mineralization and be building the soil organic matter over the winter. Because what I'm really trying to do is maintain living cover crops on the soil for as much of the year as I possibly can. And when I do that, I'm now not only protecting the soil, but I'm adding to the soil's energetic component, basically. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish, and that's why I've decided that I'm going to go ahead and do till and drill where that buckwheat is. Alright, so while we're down here, I came through last night and I went and hit this with the mower again, pretty short. I was trying to mow and blow all off to one side. I was going to kind of strip it off and open it up with the tiller and seed it all in one, basically, and then either blow that back on or just leave it as a cover on that side. It was really, really dusty out here, even with a really heavy dew, and so that leaves me with two choices. I either irrigate this heavily and then mow this in, or I leave it like it is, pull out the long stems and go through and seed it, and then just come through with the tiller and drill that seed in. So I think I'm going to opt for the latter of the two. As you can see from back in the spring when I tilled and planted, we still have these furrows here. We've got old corn stalk here, old base of corn plants, stubble on each side of these rows. These rows were 3-foot spacing in here, and in between we got this little bit of a dip in here, and this is all cover cropped with buckwheat in between. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to come back here with the tiller and the seed. I'm going to seed this whole block in rye with the broadcast seeder, now that I got it flat enough to actually get the broadcast seeder to run through here. And then I'm going to come back and seed these furrows with the Austrian winter pea, probably by hand to get good targeting. And then I'll come back with the tiller, and I'll probably just till not the whole thing, but just the rows in between where the Austrian winter pea is, because that's the one that I need to get down to 2 to 3 inches in drill depth in order to make it much more resilient to cold weather, so I can have a legume cover crop, nitrogen fixing, working the soil in here through the winter. And in doing that, that also provides the option, or provides the benefit, I should say, of leaving all this corn stubble in place. And we have to remember that this corn stubble, this little stump that we're seeing, is only a little part of what's really here. That corn plant, each corn plant usually puts out about a 6-foot or 7-foot root, from my understanding, in all directions. And I know corn tap roots can go anywhere 6 to 8 feet in depth as well. So there's this massive root profile here of a dead corn plant. And you know what that is? That's an awesome, already connected network of carbon that if we get the right inoculants on that in itself will actually be breaking down and building soil organic matter. So we're basically leaving this soil structure intact and providing a little bit of an accelerant through inoculants. And I'll probably use some Rejuvenate, and I might use a little bit of She Shield. So we'll be cover cropping this with rye and Austrian winter pea, and at the same time working all this hard corn stubble down over the winter to become another another sequestration of carbon in the soil, and to build that soil organic matter and to build that humic matter up and try and get our soil fat content up. That's basically what we're trying to do. If you look around anywhere in nature, you see where the most energy is concentrated. It's in lipids, fats, and oils, because they're complex polypeptide chains. Alright, I think I've babbled on enough about the science of this. I just kind of wanted to share my perspective and my thoughts and what my conclusions are, having kind of hashed this out with my friend Brad from Grow the Farm Up and gone back and listened to some of John Kemp's information again. Very valuable tools for soil building and very critical points to understand. I hope you found this interesting or informative. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please come check out my show on Truth Frequency Radio. That's Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Pacific, Wednesdays at 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching the Farmacy Seeds Network. I hope we'll see you sometime soon.